Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Open Mic podcast. My name is Caroline. I'm a rising senior at Columbia University, and I'm so excited to be hosting this series where we'll be talking about school and life and everything in between. Each episode will feature a new topic and a different guest, and today I'm so excited to be introducing my good friend, Tamarah Wallace. Tamarah, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me, Caroline. My name is Tamarah Wallace. I'm studying political science and human rights with a specialization in economics at Columbia College, and I'm a rising senior.
Today, Tamarah is going to talk to us about her experience in Spec, which is the Columbia Daily Spectator, which is our campus newspaper, or like the newspaper for Columbia in general. And she's actually publisher for it, which is like a really amazing feat because do you want to explain like what that entails or what Spectator or Spec actually is?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, the Columbia Daily Spectator is our school newspaper, but it's also a media company, which is really weird. It's a whole bunch of 20-something girls just like trying to run like this nonprofit. But basically, there's the journalism side and then the business and innovation side, where we kind of handle the business side of things. So like revenue, we also do like engagement over there, and then other kind of like media-y things, like product, and product design and engineering. So like we code our website in-house, we code all of our projects in-house, and that's kind of what the focus of BNI is. But yeah, like it's a media company, which is interesting.
So I was on Spectrum, which is kind of like it's the online section where we write a lot about like lifestyle and campus life. And I think one of the previous managing board editors of it called it like the big sister of campus, which is kind of what it
Mm-hmm.
is. And it's interesting because like being a deputy on Spectrum, I finally realized it's not just writing, it's not just the publication, but it's also like thinking about graphics, coordinating with the other members of different teams. It's about scheduling, about meeting with the higher ups just to make sure everything is coordinated. And so when we were in person, it would be in Riverside Church, and there would be like a hallway where we would work. And so I feel like one side is the publication side, and then the other side is like BNI, which stands for business and innovations. And so it's like all these different parts of this big machine working together.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I think every section is kind of like on both sides in a way, like, except for maybe revenue, but like product designs are like web pages. So they have a bunch of meetings with like everyone from different journalism sections. The different journalism sections are like what you guys may know, like, it's like news, opinion, A&E, like the Eye, our long form kind of magazine. So all of those sections work with product, all of those sections work with engagement to like see their data analytics, like kind of see like how their articles are social and how those are like going. So it's very like interdisciplinary in a way, where you're just working with a bunch of people and it's not really like you're just like in your niche and like alone in your niche. um, yeah.
I don't know when we moved, like when Spec moved to the church. This is like near campus. There's like this church where we have the offices, but I feel like going there is kind of like a I don't know, it feels different from like being on campus. It feels like its own community.
Mhm.
Do you remember when you got involved in Spec and what section you started off in?
Yeah, I got involved in Spec my first semester. Like I knew before I came on campus that I wanted to do journalism. I've been doing journalism since middle school and it's like a big part of my life. So I knew that I wanted to apply. And I knew that I wanted to apply to opinion, because I had always just gravitated towards that in high school. And then, yeah, I applied. I was in the opinion section for most of my time at Spec, for the past like 2 years. And then I became editorial page editor, which is the head editor of the opinion section, which was really great. I got to publish a lot of really cool pieces, work with a lot of really cool columnists. So like, yeah, the opinion section is like the op-ed kind of, like staff editorial, like, section where people are kind of writing on campus, and then we kind of edit it and kind of like um, put together a narrative and stuff like that. But yeah, it was great. And now I'm a publisher, which is very, very different. Like basically there was just kind of like a need for a publisher, and I like kind of stepped in. So like I wasn't really supposed to take this trajectory. I was supposed to retire. But I'm publisher now. And as I said, like that's kind of the head of BNI, and kind of like the head of revenue. So I handle financials of Spec. And yeah, it's different. It's different from editing and like, I don't know, talking to a whole bunch of people on campus versus like finances and kind of like managing our like cash flow and like our profit and loss and whatever. But
Yeah.
it's still very interesting.
Yeah, that's really cool. And how was that shift from more of like the really like intimate journalism experience into BNI and becoming a publisher?
Yeah, it was insane. There was a steep learning curve. I just remember like we were just having trouble kind of like choosing. And I had done some like finance in the past. Like I did Girls Who Invest, and like I worked with major gifts on UNICEF and like a couple other places. So they were like, "Oh, okay, like you have experience, like you should be like good at this job," kind of. But no, there was like still a very, very steep learning curve, because of course we're like, this niche kind of student like run company where it's just like we need to make sure that we stay afloat, and like it's there are a lot of other factors that I didn't always like take into account as editorial page editor in terms of the finances. So it was about learning about that and kind of learning how to keep a company afloat.
That's so true. And I know in BNI, there's like spec tech, right? And the product team, and just I feel like that a lot of that requires like computer science background. Do you agree with
Mhm.
that? Or
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely does. Spec tech is also engineering. Like, we used to call it spec tech, and some people still call it spec tech, but like, yeah, they're like our coders, and then product design is like kind of designing like what like a web page would look like, what a product would look like on Figma, and they also need to know how to code in order to know what's like feasible. So yes, it's very heavily like you do need a computer science kind of background. Even though like if you're like going into spec at the beginning, like they'll like teach you, so it's not really like you have to have a computer science background, but it's going to be a lot more helpful if you do. But yeah, no, yeah, I obviously do not have a computer science background. But yeah, I mean, our past few publishers also didn't, but I think it's really important for us to like understand that they understand what's possible, and to support them in like whatever projects they're doing. But yeah.
what other clubs are you involved in, and how is spec different or similar from those?
Yeah, I mean, Spec is pretty. I like to think that Spec is pretty similar. So I've been on the board of Community Impact for the past like since freshman year. When I joined Spec, I joined Community Impact, and that's Columbia's kind of affiliated nonprofit that works in Harlem with like education and like kids, and also adult programs, like adult programs that help adults get jobs and their GED. So it's focused on education. And yeah, I've been working there for forever. It seems like I used to be the assistant to the executive director, and then I was like the board operations officer. Now I'm the treasurer. And then at one point, I was on the board of trustees as a student representative. So I've seen everything in community impact, and it's just been like a great experience. I think that it's like pretty similar to Spec in some ways, in that I mean, we're not really going out into the community in Spec, but we're still like trying to spread information and trying to be like kind of a nonprofit in a way. Like we're trying to like make sure that like the people who are in it like learn and are like suited to like whatever field they want to go into. So it's like I don't know. There's a lot of similarities in like care and education between the two, but they're not exactly the same at all. But And then also I'm the vice president of She Columbia, which stands for Shaping Her Earth. And it's kind of focused on women of color and helping them attain their personal, political, professional, and pocket goals, which is financial goals. And yeah, we do like a lot of like cute events, like couch conversations, and kind of we have a mentoring program as well. So yeah, those are the things that I do. But yeah, Spec was my first thing I joined, my first love.
That's awesome. You do so much. And I think a big maybe like similarity, like you were saying, of all three of these organizations that you're in is number one, like kind of community building, and also number two, developing skills that you can take with you, even if you're not like in those organizations in the future. I think like the skills of outreach, of communication, of just like learning how to manage an organization and kind of like the logistics behind that, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes that people might
Yeah.
not know about. I also remember, this is again spec related, I think when I had my, it was either at one of the open houses or when I had my interview for a spec, where I forgot who it was. It was either Michael, who was the
Michael
publisher
Todd.
maybe like a few years ago. Maybe it was another like managing board person or like CB or corporate board person, who was like, we really want you to develop skills that are not only relevant to journalism or not only relevant to BNI, but also skills that you can take into medicine or into a leadership position in the future.
Yeah, no, I think like a big part of what we've realized is that like a lot of people are not going into journalism. Like the current editor in chief is not going into journalism. So we're very, very like passionate about making sure that people like learn the skills that they feel they need. And I think Spec is honestly like uniquely designed to do that, where like you learn how to run a company, or you learn how to, like me, for example, as editorial page editor, I'm pre-law. I want to go to law school, and I I learned like argumentation kind of strategy, and like how to like kind of formulate an argument on a piece of paper. And I would just like edit for that like constantly. And like so would my deputies, so would my associates, so would my trainees. And it's great practice for kind of like developing that structure, and like hopefully it'll help on the LSAT. I'm not really sure. But yeah, you get to learn like what is most pertinent to you. And it's yeah, like even Abby, the past A&E head, like she does a lot of like theater, and she's like I think a theater major. And like she was able to like cover all of like these different shows in Spec, and it's very pertinent to what she wants to do. So
Yeah.
like yeah, there's something for everyone.
Yeah. I think also being on Spectrum has helped me because my YouTube channel is kind of geared towards like a similar goal as Spectrum, kind of being like a big sister, like for college or for just like for education in general. And I think like being on Spectrum really helped me like know what people need and know what, and just be more familiar with campus and campus life. So yeah. And I know we spoke a lot about the different positions like MB and CB. Do we want to kind of break down what those mean?
Yeah, sure. That might be helpful. I guess I'll start with CB, which stands for Corporate Board. That's the editor in chief, the managing editor, and the publisher. So the managing editor is kind of presides over journalism, and the publisher presides over business and innovations, BNI for short. And the editor in chief presides over everything. And yeah, and then under that is the managing board. So it's the head of each section on journalism and business innovations. And that's like the editorial page editor for opinion, the news editor for news, like just the head of like each section. On BNI, that's the revenue director, the engagement director. And then after that board, there's the deputy board, which is made up of like a lot of people on each section. Like my section, the opinion section had like 4 to 5 deputies at a given time. So a bunch of deputies who kind of head up the subsections of each section. So in opinion, for example, there was a city deputy, a admin deputy, and a student life deputy. So they had different kind of focuses. And then there are associates, which are like staff writers or staff editors, and then or staff coders. And then there are like trainees that just came on. They're learning. They go through like a training process. So yeah, that's the whole the whole situation.
Yeah, it's definitely like something to learn as you go into it because there's like a lot of different positions, which I think is pretty cool. And also, do you want to talk a little bit about how the application process to joining Spec is like?
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, we have like a giant open house. These have been taking place on Zoom, which is like kind of sad, but of course, pandemic. And usually it's like in the church and like everyone kind of gets together. And then all of the managing board members, as you now know, the MP, present their section and kind of talk about like why people should go to their open house, or their kind of gathering after the open house to learn more. And they do like a little pitch. And then you go and check out your different sections, and then you get, well, I guess you get this before you check out your different sections, but you get a link to the application. And then you fill that out within like, I think it's like 3 days. It's like it's really short the turnaround, but it's a very quick application. Fill that out, and then you have an interview in the next like week. And then yeah, like it takes like about 2 weeks, and then we decide, and then you're on Spec. Just really fun. But yeah.
What have been some of your favorite Spec pieces that have come out? Maybe even through opinion, your section.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. Like I really loved Carol Ann's column, Carol Ann Felix. Over I'm gonna like talk about opinion primarily because I had to read every opinion piece, so I'm hyper focused on opinion. But she was a columnist last year when I was editorial page editor. And it was great. She talked about kind of her experiences as a Black woman at Columbia and just like in the world. And I think it was called like intersectionality, which was so funny. Tea like at the end, like the drinking, like yeah. Uh, but that was really good. I also really loved a couple of the other projects that we did. So like we did an interactive reading list over the summer with a teacher from the Bronx, which was really really cool. It was basically like you could like scroll through it, and it would just like show you his op-ed that he did, as well as like recommendations for reading. And it was like called A Conscious Reeducation, and it was about like anti-Blackness and stuff. And then another piece that we did was 100 words, which was really cool. So like when the pandemic first hit, we like reached out to a whole bunch of different people, and we were like, hey everyone, how are you doing? So like tell us about how the pandemic has like affected you. And we did little blurbs from like a bunch of different people, and we had like one of our amazing like brilliant artists, Liz Nichols, like on staff, like illustrate it, and it was like a little click through as well, and it was very cute. So those are three things that I think of immediately.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I just do want to point out like the last point that you made, the graphics or the illustrations, those are all student made, and I didn't know that before joining Spec, which yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, they're so talented. Like every single piece of art or like photography or like any visual was created by Spec. Like even our we just won an award for our like graphics reporting that we did, or our data journalism that we did last year. And like it was crazy. Like graphics did it with it was Rita and Steph. But they kind of they did so well. Like their piece was amazing.
You guys also won another award, right? For best college newspaper? Was that was very recent, right?
Yeah, we just won for best college staff for last year. So that was really nice. It was, or we just won, I think, in the Northeast, but we moved on to the national, the national competition. So that's fun.
Wait, how's that gonna work?
I think they just evaluate us. I think they just like go back and like look at our articles and stuff, and then they decide whether we won or not.
So exciting.
uh,
Good luck.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you. I think everyone was really like happy about it because I think like for like some of the sections, like especially like my section or like the copy section, like copy that kind of looks at spelling, grammar, structure, all of that stuff, like they could be like hidden away a little bit because they don't really have a byline. Like in opinion, we don't really have bylines either. So it's kind of nice for like everyone to get recognition for the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mhm. Can you explain what a byline is and also what, like specifically what copy does in case people aren't familiar?
Yeah, sure. So a byline is basically like on on an article, there's an author linked kind of, or like an author's name that's linked, and then when you click on that, it shows all of the articles that they've ever like written or like sometimes contributed on. But like copy opinion, they don't really have that because they're usually editing, so it's the writer's name that's there, not really theirs. um, so they don't really have that much recognition, and they can get kind of I don't know what the word is, like I guess forlorn or discouraged because of that. So yeah, it's kind of it's nice that they've gotten recognition. And yeah, and then copy is our section that kind of checks every single article for grammar, spelling, um like syntax, sentence structure, like oh wait, that's the same thing. Syntax, structure, I don't know, argument flow, like literally everything.
Mhm.
Um, and they check every single piece of writing that goes out, like from our tweets to our products, like what's on our website, like in the little like margins and stuff, like our ads, like everything. So um yeah, they do a lot of hard and important work because I know that I don't know how to spell. So um
Yeah, it was so funny. And I think the editor in chief this year, Sarah, was she head of copy last year?
Yeah, she was head copy editor last year. So it's great because she's read all of everything that Spec has been putting out for the past like however long, because she's been on copy since freshman year. So she's read everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it makes her such a great editor because she doesn't really give bias to one section at all. It's She loves them all equally.
I know Spec is also kind of, like we were saying, kind of like community oriented, and there are these traditions within the Columbia Daily Spectator that people might not know of. Do you want to share a couple of those and what they are?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess like our name tradition is Spec Tales. So it's like basically we just throw kind of like a little party. It usually has like a theme. Our last one before the pandemic was TikTok themed, and everyone came. Every section was competing against each other to do the best TikTok dance. Opinion won, by the way. Just gotta say. But we were all, yeah, like just kind of competing against each other and just like hanging out, and it was very cute. And we usually do that. We also do spec dinner at the end of each semester. And it's usually at Mel's, which is really funny. And we just eat mac and cheese balls. Oh, Mel's is a bar and restaurant like very close to campus, and we usually rent it out. We do like mac and cheese balls and like random food, and then we profess our love to um, the incoming managing board, basically. So the new managing board is kind of serenaded by the old managing board, and we talk about how much we love them and how great they're going to do in the next year. And it's very cute, and like people actually like stand on chairs to do it, so it's like really funny. um,
I feel like it's always really cold because it's like in the
yeah,
winter time at the end, and then we're wearing dresses, and then everyone's just like
Yeah.
Like wrap yourself in a huge jacket and run in.
We always try to take pictures too, like like because the trees are lit up. We try to take pictures, and it's always so cold, and everyone like yeah, everyone has their like parkas, and then like tries to take it off for like 5 seconds, and like take a picture, and then like puts it back on.
Yeah.
And oof, I hate the cold.
Because you're from Florida, right? Is that
Yeah, I'm from Florida, so like the cold is just not fun for me. But
the trees also are from tree lighting. I think we've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast, but tree lighting is like a ceremony where when winter starts, I guess, like there are lights literally on the trees and they are lit up, and then it's like a huge ceremony with hot chocolate and
yeah,
free shirts sometimes. And so that's like a really big Columbia tradition. And do you
yeah.
have a favorite Columbia tradition?
I was thinking about this, and I was like, maybe if I like bend what like a tradition is, I don't, because I feel like everyone just kind of does this, but like I really miss going to JJ's, like, just like after studying in Butler, which is our like big library, that's like 24 hours. You go to JJ's at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and you see all your friends there who are also just studying, or maybe they had gone out or something, and like everyone kind of just comes together, like gets a couple of mozzarella sticks and just like sits there. I really miss that. I don't know if it's like a tradition, but it's
We
fun.
can we can consider it. I feel like that's like a thing that everyone has to check off their bucket list at Columbia.
Yeah, go to JJ's at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, and then you'll see familiar faces, which you didn't do not expect, but it happens.
It happens.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, and what about, like, your major? Poli sci, right? And then human rights? Did I say that?
Yeah,
Is that right? Okay.
yeah.
How has that been? Like, how did you always know you wanted to do that?
Yeah, I mean, not exactly. When I was looking at like the majors, like before I came here, like I knew I wanted to do poli sci, but I wasn't really sure what my second major would be, because I really wanted to do like history or philosophy, or um I don't even know. I just had like a whole bunch of like ideas in my head about like what I wanted to do. And I think at first I started doing poli sci and econ, just like economics. And then I started with that, and then I was like, I don't know, not my favorite thing. So I stuck with poli sci because I really liked political theory. I took contemporary civilizations, which is like one of our core classes that focuses on political theory, and I loved it so much that I like switched my main subfield to that. And then yeah, and then for my second major, I was like, I want something really interdisciplinary. Like I really like taking new classes and learning new things. So I was like, okay, I think human rights is like very is really flexible, and also like it has a really cool basis. It's like basically we take like like three human rights classes, and like one's in like international law, like one's like an intro, and one's like a seminar, and then the rest of the classes are in any discipline basically. Like I have a specialization in economics, from my economics classes that carried over, and then like every other class that I've been taking has been in like a different discipline. Like right now I'm taking Black critical theory, and that counts for human rights, which is really cool. So I really like it. I think I always recommend it to anyone who really likes the like interdisciplinary like majors. Like I think it's like a really good one of those. But yeah.
If someone is having a single major now, do you think it's an easy major to add, or is it kind of still a lot of credits to fulfill?
I think it's a pretty easy major to add, to be honest. You just have to take like those three human rights courses, which are really great, really interesting, and then you take, yeah, like three in any discipline. Kind of, they have like a set list of disciplines, but there are so many that it's like it's not constricting at all. And then you do a specialization in any other major. So as long as it's a major, you can do a specialization in it. So That's why mine's economics. So it's really flexible. Like if you've started, I know a lot of people who have started different majors and then like kind of flipped. So all of those classes can count as your specialization. So you can knock it out pretty quickly, I think.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. I want to look
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. And I recommend it all the time.
Did you know that you wanted to come to Columbia for undergrad, I guess? Like, how did you decide on Columbia?
Yeah, I mean, so like I've always loved Columbia. Like I remember in like fifth grade, I thought I would like be a doctor and like go to Columbia for some reason. And like I had like the tab like on my computer and I'd always like go and look at it. Um, I don't know why I wanted to be a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I'm not good at science. But yeah, I always really admired the school. I always admired the tenets of like history, philosophy, and like discourse and like Socratic discussion, like that type of thing was always really interesting. And then when high school rolled around, I mean, I kind of like wasn't as focused on Columbia. I was just like, I could probably go anywhere and be happy. It's like fine. And I ended up doing Questbridge, which is like a scholarship program kind of. Well, they don't really give a scholarship. They just force schools to grant kids grants. But I don't know, but I guess it's like a scholarship in a way. But yeah, they're great. They're for like first generation like low income students, and they like, yeah, they do this process where you apply to like up to 12 schools and you like match with them for early decision. So I matched with Columbia and I was here early decision. So I made for a fun senior year where I was like in college from like December 1st and I just chilled.
Nice. So Questbridge gives your decision on December 1st?
Yeah, it was really early.
That is nice. That's earlier than like the early decision date, which is December 14th, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Someone else from my school got in early decision, and I remember like I had gotten in, and he was just waiting and waiting, and he would just ask me like every other day. He's just like, what is your email look like?" But he got in, so it was good.
How did you find the transition, I guess, adapting from Florida to New York City?
It was definitely like a huge culture shock. Like I feel like in Florida, like you need like cars and you need to like prepare to go places,
Mhm.
like you need like to drive somewhere. You need to like I don't know. It's just everything's kind of far. And here you can just like hop on the subway and just like be in Brooklyn or like be downtown and it's so freeing. And I don't know, there was like a lot of FOMO my first year because I spent a lot of time studying and I was like, oh my God, but I'm like in New York, I should be like going and experiencing things more, but I'm like on campus and like I think that was like a struggle for me and like some of my friends and like I think just after a while you just realize that like, you're here to do both and it's like you just have to try and balance it somehow. But it's okay if you don't like actually do that to an extent or like like if you're trying it's okay, but if you don't necessarily attain it, like that's all right too.
Yeah, I agree. I think seeing the expectations of what it's like to be in the city, maybe if you're like following like college life, Instagrammers are always out and having fun. But like the reality is that college is made up of classes, academics, like you
Yeah,
have to focus on studying first, I think. I mean, at least like depending on your priorities, right? Like if you want to go to law school, if you want to go to med school, I think grades are probably very important.
yeah.
Don't be
Yeah,
afraid to just like focus on your studies if you need to.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we just had to learn that.
Mhm.
But yeah,
What about your favorite library to study in?
um, I I don't know. I think this is really basic, but I really like Ref and Butler. Like I think it's so fun to like look up and like see the chandeliers and stuff. Like it's so like pretty. But I think like okay, like I do like that only for when you have to like study past like 12. Like when you have to finish something that night. But my favorite library to just like lounge in and like take naps in sometimes is what's it called? The Milstein Center over at Barnard.
Oh yeah, Barnard facilities are really nice. Very
Mhm.
modern.
Modern.
Yeah. They have like the standing desk where you can lower and heighten the desk to your liking, which I did not know was a thing until I went there. I was like, "Why is this desk moving?" Because I
Pretty
think I pressed
nice.
something. But yeah, and they're like the views are really nice, and
Mhm.
sometimes I don't know if you've been like out on the terrace. Do people study there? There's
Yeah,
a
I've studied there before, but there's like a lack of outlets out there.
oh, true, because it's outdoors. But yeah, that's like right across the street from where like the Columbia dorms are or like the residence halls are, so it's super close. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe one last Columbia trivia question.
Mhm.
What is something that you haven't done yet that you want to do when you go back on campus?
So my thing that I want to do is go to the Barnard Greenhouse. Um, yeah, it's like open at weird times, so I've just never been able to like go. Because it's like I think it's open like early in the morning or something. I don't know, and I don't know if it's open anymore because of COVID, but it's apparently really beautiful and full of flowers and stuff. And it's at the top of Millbank, so.
Mm. Oh, nice. I have heard of that. I think one of my friends was involved in a club that was involved in that. And
Cool.
Milbank is like one of the built I had Spanish in Milbank, but I didn't know the
Me
greenhouse was
too.
right up there. Oh, awesome. Is there anything that you wanted to share, either like college advice wise or just anything that you wanted to share with our audience before we wrap up for today?
I think, like, I guess college advice wise, like with like majors and stuff, I just remember being very like freaked out about like going into a humanities major. So that's why I did well, econ is humanities, but I did econ so that I would have like hard skills. And I thought it was interesting, but I think I had like a sense of fear where I was like, oh my god, I need like hard skills and something. And honestly, like I feel like I wish I just like trusted myself a little more and was like, you know what, I'm trying to go to law school, but also like I want to do the things that I love and learn the things that I love. And I think that's really, really important. And I wish like I had like thought more like that in freshman year where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do these particular majors because they make me happy and
Mm.
they gear me for like what I want to do in life rather than like trying to like make sure that I was like I it's good to make sure that you're financially stable, but like just yeah, it's just trust yourself.
Yeah, and also know that like you're learning outside of the classroom too. So like regardless of major, the opportunities that you have through the clubs that you join or even just the jobs that you take on too, I think those are
Yeah,
really valuable. So
yeah, exactly.
and yeah, I think that's a really great note to end off on. And thank you, Tamarah, for coming on the podcast and sharing your experiences.
I know, thank you again for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, and thank you to our audience for watching. And if you're watching this on YouTube as a video podcast, make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe and comment down below. And if you are listening to this on any other podcast streaming platform, then make sure to give it a thumbs up and follow as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.